Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's the biggest day of the year here at PAC 14, the year-end show where we have the show's creator, founder, emeritus guy, Phil Tilghman. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure to be here, and it's always a pleasure to be with you wherever. So
once again, last week I'm at the Food Lion on Snow Hill Road. Very nice lady comes up to me in the produce section and says, "You know, you've been on that show a long time, but boy, we would love to have Mr. Tilghman back."
Really?
Yes, they miss you out there.
Did you get it in writing?
No. No, and of course, she inflated me because I could tell she was going to talk about the show, how much she loves it, and then it turned into, we miss Mr. Tilghman. But I assured her that you would be on before the end of the year.
Well, those, 6 years or whatever it was I did this show, I enjoyed every one of them and had some great guests, but you're able to really lure a lot of good guests in here. So you must have gone through the list because you finally asked me to come back.
Well, I threaten them, Phil.
Yeah.
I mean, I call everyone, I say, remember, I'm the one who gets to write your obituary.
Oh.
So if you don't come in and do this, you're going to be embarrassed in the community by whatever I write.
Henry Parker and Paul Martin used to always say, never pick a fight with somebody who buys ink by the barrel. That would be you.
I was taking a tour of this Taj Mahal that they're building for the sheriff. Have you been out there?
Oh my gosh, I go by it all.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I told them, guys, I like to needle Mike Lewis because the sheriff, because all day long everyone's just saying, "Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir" to him. So when I get around him, I'll say stuff like, "You can't wait," or "Are you due for a haircut?" Because no one ever says that to him.
No.
So he takes it really well and he laughs at it, but But I'm reminded of something my father always taught me, and that was, don't ever make mad someone who has a gun or a jail cell.
Your father was wise for that. I'm curious what the county's going to do with the old sheriff's department.
I should know that, and I've asked, but they're even moving the 911 center into the new building, which was a point of contention for a while. But I don't know what they're going to do with that. But it's really useless. It's just as our friend Hunter Nelms used to say, it's just a farm shed that they were working in.
Yeah. Well, it was controversial when we built it.
Right.
I was on the council when we built it, and it was not able to withstand a 100-year storm or something like that. And Hunter said, and we said, we'll just go over to the detention center, which will. That's where the civil defense station is, or enclave is in the detention center.
Yeah, the conference room at the detention center was where the sheriffs and all the emergency operations would have to move in a storm, which is not a good thing. No. So this new building, which is going to cost $33 million.
Good golly.
Plus another $2.5 million for furniture and stuff. So $35 million. It'll last us 50, 60 years at least.
Yeah, I hope so.
But it's everything they've ever needed, plus. And it's going to be a good thing. I was real skeptical about it, but seeing it and knowing what they do and what they're going to be asked to do as time goes on, with state police kind of diminishing in terms of importance. Mm-hmm. You've got the municipalities in Wicomico don't really have police departments. You've got Salisbury, and Fruitland, and I guess Pittsville has a department, maybe Sharptown, but there's not really. Does Sharptown have a department? I don't think they do. Right.
Not anymore.
So there aren't municipal police departments. Delmar has one, of course. But the sheriffs have really had to step up, and they need a facility.
Yeah. And as Salisbury, as the donut around Salisbury, that's where I think 80% of the calls for the sheriff is in that donut around the city of Salisbury.
Right.
So anyhow. It's a nice looking building. I'm sure it'll be well received when it's open.
Yeah, and I should have called it Taj Mahal, but that's really what it is. It's really nice. Yeah. It's going to be really, really nice.
You go to Berlin, you ride by Berlin, where they're building a new state police.
That's going to be really nice.
It's really nice. Not as big as Wicomico County Sheriff, but maybe they'll do less. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, a lot of good things can happen. It's amazing what can be done with bonded money. There's state bond money, and then there's county bond money, and the county has such a good credit rating in New York that it's good. We build schools, build sheriff's department, build this or that or the other thing. One thing I haven't been able to understand is why the city moved out of the city county government office building.
Right. Well, as you know, they've wanted their own place for years. And I think there was a plan there for a while that is if Lot 1 got developed downtown, the Gillis-Gilkerson property, which is other partners involved in that now, that might be a place where Unity Square was going to be, that they might put a city hall there. I know that they thought maybe they would like the library, if the library was ever going to leave. There's a thought the library might go out to where the Ward Foundation Museum was.
I've heard that.
Yeah, there's some people thinking that. But they were going to have to build a new public works building out in their yard, out off Lake Street. And they're going to have to build another building for something I forget. So they just decided to consolidate, to take the money they had for that to invest in renting the old firehouse. So the developer did the renovation on it. If you look at the math, which I have, it's a benefit to the city. They're going to actually save money compared if they had to have built these other structures.
Okay.
And they have their own place. And really, I think that's what they've needed.
And it may turn out to be temporary.
It could
what
be.
You're saying.
Yeah, they've got a 10-year lease.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll buy the building at the end of it. I mean, who knows? But what the use for that building would have been if the city had kept that building and not sold it and had to spend the money that the developer did to renovate it, it would have been a loss financially for the city.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, maybe it would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But you had asbestos issues and all kinds of stuff in there, and they did a renovation when they put the entertainment center in. They did a renovation for when the Daily Times went in, and they've done another renovation for the city. And it's a good space for them.
Yeah.
And it's good that they're visible. At the government office building, they weren't visible at all. And you know that sharing that space upstairs there was probably problematic all along.
Well, maybe so. Yeah. And we have a new mayor.
Yes.
And a couple of new council members. So.
What do you think about this?
Oh.
This always happens. You end up interviewing me, so I'm supposed to be interviewing you.
Yeah. Well, I think Randy Taylor. Well, I admire anybody who puts their
hand up
and says, "Hey, I'm willing to do this job. If you ask me, I'll do it." So even those who didn't win the election, I still admire people like that, and because I've been through it. And but Randy, hopefully he has the mandate of the people and the support of the people, the backing. And I know he wants to do a good job. And I feel like he will do a good job. And there probably needs to be a switch, a change of focus in the city on several things, not the least of which is city streets. I think that's one of the big issues right now. But how to pay for the fire department, who are doing so much work for the county,
right,
and getting reimbursed for only a portion
right.
of that. That's a big issue.
Yeah, they kind of kicked the can down the road for another year on that while they try to sort it out. But even in the county, at the county meeting this week, some people got up and criticized the agreement with the city, and it's just clear they don't understand how it works or why it's necessary. But at a meeting when Jack Heath was still the mayor, he sat there and he said, "Look, I owe it to the Salisbury taxpayers. I've got to defend them, and if you're not paying, I can't send fire trucks into an area where people aren't paying." And constitutionally, it's contrary to what I've promised to do for the city. And that got interpreted as a threat, and that's not a way to play ball at all.
Well, I think he was frustrated and felt like the going with bended knee wasn't working. Yeah. And anyhow, we'll see how that plays out. And it should play out differently. The numbers should be different. The number here's what it costs to serve all of us. Right across the road from me is served by the city of Salisbury,
right.
And I live 6 miles out of Salisbury.
But you're in the Hebron district, and Hebron's
am.
Yeah, Hebron is unique because I used to live out there. Hebron's unique in terms of the private, the regular little fire companies with volunteers, because they are really aggressive and really active, and they've got a great reputation of being there in 9 minutes.
Yeah, and they also are, like a lot of other fire departments, they're having some trouble recruiting new younger guys or people.
Right.
It's not just guys. And all the training and hours that are involved, and you're a young married guy and have a family and a job and everything else, and at 1 o'clock in the morning you're getting up and going on a fire call or whatever.
Yeah.
And
when Hebron would do fundraising, I was happy to send them a check.
oh yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And of course, they have that carnival,
Right.
which is, I mean, those
But just
guys-
that they need to do a carnival,
yeah.
it's great that they do it. It's a great community asset. But they're not doing it necessarily for fun. I guess they have fun doing it, but they have to do it to survive.
Along those same lines, Del Mar is served by the state of Delaware, of course, and Delaware has a checkoff on all insurance policies, and it's earmarked for fire companies. We could do the same thing here with the support of the state legislature. We could have that authority. I think it ought to be something to be considered. Right now, the county's putting quite a bit of money into the volunteer fire companies, rightly so.
Right. Well, just this week they passed the property tax discount for volunteers. So if you're a volunteer in a fire company, you can get $1,500 off your tax bill.
Yeah.
And that's going to go forward. The total spending for the county is capped at $750,000, so they can't go above that in terms of the total amount. So those figures might go lower if there's more people than $750,000. But so that's an issue. But the firefighters, the people who spoke at the meeting at least, were like, well, they were upset when they learned that it would be taxable income. They would get a 1099 for that. But they're still going to save money.
Oh yeah.
But it's a good thing, and it's the county trying to do the right thing by the volunteers.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it is. Unfortunately, the county is going through some problems. You just wrote about it in the paper. By the way, I really like your paper, and I hear nothing but good. Thank goodness that paper is there for the local people.
I had a headline error on the front page this week, and I got some calls for that. So,
well,
I used the wrong rein, and I know better. There's rein, R-E-I-G-N, and R-E-I-N. One is the king reigns, the other is the rein on a horse, and I used the rein on a horse when I meant to use the rein for the king.
Was that your English teacher from high school that used to call you all the time?
Mrs. Jones used to send us little notes.
Yeah.
She would circle and send a clip in.
Well, maybe the Bar Association is also asking the retired judge. Hey, did you know what you were talking about?
Do you want to explain this, or do you want me to explain it?
Well, I think I understand it,
okay.
because I was
for our viewers.
I was on the charter review, as you know.
Right. So there's a hiring dispute. The county executive is supposed to submit the nominee, did not do it in accordance with the charter, based on how I read the charter. Not a lawyer, but how I understand things. She kept the person in. She said she did. The judge ruled in her favor, but was using an old version of the charter. Now, you've been on all these charter review committees, and they made the
charter review was asked to look at that section 315 or whatever it was, because Bob Culver apparently ignored it,
right,
and ignored the council and said, "I'm going to put who I want in these positions," and it seemed to the council. The new county executive is doing the same thing.
Right.
And this county executive may grow in popularity to the point where, hey, we don't need to change this. But anyway.
Well, people say to me, like, what's the big deal? Why are you making a big deal about this? But one reason, and you touched on it, our credit rating in the county is so good. So imagine next year when they go to get the bond number, the interest rate for the county bonds, things they roll over, new borrowing that they do. And those investment bankers in New York Google Wycomico County, the first thing that comes up is one of my stupid stories going on about the county executive suing the county council or vice versa. And the investment bankers are going to go, what the heck's going on down there? And it's going to affect their decision in terms of making a loan. Whether if whoever the executive is it cannot explain it correctly, it could cost the taxpayers millions of dollars in interest.
Yeah.
It's weird how it's all connected.
It's amazing to me that I only went to the New York bond rating hearings 4 times in the 16 years I was there, because it was always in the wintertime. I'm in the heating oil business.
Right.
I did have a living to make. But anyway, it amazed me that we sit down at this big table, and here's the couple of representatives from the county, and the finance officer always goes.
Right. And Dave Ryan, our economic development director, goes.
Well, he never went.
He went with you,
there,
okay.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Charlie Habliston was the guy that went, and Joe Schiller.
Right.
But anyway, they're sitting there, and somebody who's on one of the bond rating
Right.
agencies will say, we noticed in the Daily Times an article, and they pull out the newspaper, and I said, Daily Times? Oh yeah, we subscribe to
Yeah.
the Daily Times, and
Yeah.
we read about it. If there's something in there about the stability
Yes.
of Wycomico County, we bring it, we put it in the file,
Yeah.
and they have a whole file of everything that you would think. The next thing they said is, do you know Frank Perdue?
Can you get his autograph for us?
And well, one of them wanted a Shorebirds baseball hat, because I mean they followed everything, and they saw the players, that Manny Machado and the others that go through the Shorebirds outfit, and then all of a sudden or not all of a sudden, 2 or 3 years later, they're Orioles making headlines, and so the bond rating people do their job, and they know how stable Wycomico County is, and obviously from the bond rating, we are stable, and we have this huge rainy day fund. I don't know, it's $30 million or something like that.
Right.
A lot of money, and anyway, we all want the best for our county. We want the best for our county government. I wish them well. I really do, and admire every one of them for the time and efforts they take away from their business and their families and so on to represent us. So, and I feel thankful to them. But they are in a position where they are open to somebody having a different opinion. Not to criticize.
Yeah, well, you're in a unique position because you understand how the mechanisms work, maybe on a dated scale, but you're not in the loop at all the news, and you're out there in the community and you hear people talk, and you can kind of correct them in terms of structure type debates. But you might not have just gotten off the phone with John Cannon to know what the dirt is, in the county council.
No.
So your viewpoints of this stuff is really important to me because you respond to what I'm doing in a really educated way. So when you say you liked the story about the judge with the charter thing, that makes me feel better because I can't decide if it's really important news or just weeds and forest type news, if people really care or not. To me, it's really intriguing, but I don't know how the other people feel about that.
Well, the other thing, a citizen like myself who lives on the west side and uses Rockawalking Road all the time.
Right.
And from Route 50 all the way through to Pemberton Drive, Rockawalking Road has been rebuilt. The drainage has been fixed up. And I admire that. And I've told a couple of county council people, but I've never had the chance to see the county executive. It was done before she was elected. Right. But those are the kind of things that people like us in the county, the other thing we see is our school system. It has some challenges, one of which is how many of our families who can afford it, some who can't afford it, are sending their kids to private schools. And those kids that are taken out of public school and put in private school diminishes as somebody used to say, when the smart Asian kid came into class, well, there goes the curve.
Right. I don't have a chance now.
But you take the people who hurt the curve out of the classroom. It's got to have an effect on the classroom, and I admire those people who ran for the county board of education, and I wonder. I belong to a little Tuesday morning discussion group, and we were talking to somebody. Said, well, they don't know this and they don't know that, and the teacher. And I said, what if I think there were 10 of us there. I said, if the 10 of us today were made the board of education for Wycomico County, what would we change? How would we do? Well, and they looked at it a little bit different. And the same could be asked for the citizen who complains about anything in the city or the county. How can we make a difference for you? If you don't like what's going on, put somebody else different in there.
Yeah, I see that as a reporter, an elected school board. I wondered how it would go because some of the people that were running were very strident and kind of radical in what they wanted to do. I think I could say this, if he wouldn't mind, John Palmer.
Well, he was kind of a one-issue candidate,
right?
But he's broadened his perspective,
and he has brought his talents in terms of developing kids, nurturing these kids, especially in the engineering programs who want more possibilities, the STEM stuff. He's done a great job as a member to really promote that. So he hasn't disrupted what's going on at all. He's enhanced it. But it seemed like as a candidate, because of the questions he would ask at the meetings, he'd stand up and ask, he's completely opposite of what you would have thought. But it's hard. It's a hard job what we're doing in the schools.
You know, it's challenging. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're in Wycomico County or Montgomery County or Butte, Montana. Education is not an easy task to do, and under a lot of the microscope is right there. You know, you mean to tell me you're putting that book in the library of middle school students? Well, yeah, we are. It's a classic. Well, it has this sentence on page 385. You know, people are looking at minutely at minute details of the education system, and
well, we saw that with the county executive. You know, she's Republican, does not hesitate to let everyone know that. She was a teacher, which kind of made her more supportive of the school system, which has been good. But a lot of people thought, all right, once she gets on there, she'll ban all these books. And then when that didn't happen, there was like a lot of concern. We had letters in the paper. And she said, well, there's a process for this. You know, you go to this committee and they review it. And no one's applied to the committee to have anything reviewed. It's all just talk.
Yeah.
No one's actually taken steps. So she's like, can't do anything because no one has filed a formal complaint so we can review it.
No, we want you to do it.
Right.
Or they, that famous they,
well,
they say and they didn't do this or they didn't do that. So I often wonder, who are they?
Who are they? In the 90s, when I was a younger person and you were on the county council, we all used to complain that there's no good acts coming to the Civic Center. Why doesn't the county do something to, you know?
We were.
But it wasn't Phil Tilghman's fault that Led Zeppelin didn't come.
It was an artist that was just on the way up, like Randy Travis, came here, and it was the next year that he was country music star of the year or something like that. Or then you have Anne Murray as an example. Well, she had a long career, and she was
going
kind
the other
of
way
at the end of her, because you only get 6,000 people in this Civic Center, and you get 30,000 in a Baltimore Civic Center. So I don't know whether the numbers are right, but they're a bigger venue. And so anyhow, I thought we got some. There was a time we got nothing but wrestling.
Right.
Or excuse me, wrestling.
It was fun though.
I remember when the JCs. I was a JC when we brought the first wrestling show in here from Baltimore. It was on Baltimore Channel 2 in Baltimore. And the promoter came down here. I'll never forget, he had a hat, never took his hat off, and had a cigar at his sort of mouth. And, okay, here's what it's going to cost, and you sell the tickets, and you do this, and you do that. And here's what the numbers are. And we said, oh, this looks pretty good. And we said, well, it ends with a championship match. And we said, yeah. And we said, well, how about if the champion is thrown at 2 minutes after the match starts? He said, you tell me how long you want that match to... Obviously, it was all fixed, you know. It was, but it's a show.
It's a show. It's entertainment. It's a show.
Yeah, it is. And I've got a grandson who just loves to watch wrestling on TV. So his father watches with him.
Where do you go back when you think about stuff you're proud of? And it could be infrastructure, it could be a budget, it could be a communication with a person.
It's the schools. That was, I'm proud of the fact that my granddaughter came to me. She said, your name's on our school. And I said, well, I'm proud of that. It's on 5 other schools. And it's also the Purdue Stadium. We brought baseball here for those who like it. And but I think it's little things in service. Somebody gave me a compliment one time and said, gee, the idea of having a telephone number that you can call to see if the ferry's running saves me going all the way down.
It used to be a mystery.
And that was my idea, not my idea. I was the one who brought it forward. It was somebody else's idea, because I went to Woodland Ferry and go to Laurel, and there's a sign there that says open or closed. So I went to Rye Sharman. I said, we need this for Wycomico County. And, okay, Mr. Tilghman, we'll look at it. It's going to cost $58,000 and I don't know what all. And finally, some guy from Whitehaven called and he said, "Why don't you just put up a sign with a phone number?" And well, gosh, what a good idea. Let's look into that. Well, I think it costs like $4,000
Yeah.
initially
Yeah.
to get the telephone thing. And the signs were made by the county roads department. That was service to the, and it made sense. The other thing was, I remember when Dr. Sensenbrenner was here, and we had a state grant for elderly transportation, and we had a grant for like people who are in need, handicap. Well, each one of those was a separate grant. Each one of them had a director and a secretary and an office. And they came up for office for the review. And I said, "How come you can't put those together, Dr. Sensenbrenner?" She said, "Well, both grants insist that we have a director." I said, and Bill Carey was on the council with me then. We looked at each other, put them in the same office. So we did. We put them. Within a week, one of the directors had resigned.
Yeah.
The secretary went with him. And from that time on, we just had one. And that course developed into what is now Shore Transit, which is a huge service to the people here for working. And Ocean City loves Shore Transit because that's where the people who clean
Yeah.
the rooms and work there can live. They don't have to live in the high-priced Ocean City place like you do.
Yeah.
But anyway,
No, I use it all the time. For $6 a day, I can go back and forth to Ocean City.
Yeah.
You know, I pay $10 in gas. So I'm saving money riding the bus, and I enjoy it.
yeah, you meet other people. That's where you get some of your stories, probably.
Not really, no.
Oh.
No.
It was the common sense things that I like to take pride in we were able to do. And we were able to do it. The seven of us were there. We were the county executive when I was there. So the seven of us, at least four, but usually it was unanimous. We'd make a decision, and that was the decision. We would hear that so-and-so road has potholes. We would report that to Raj Sharma and Kirk Banks, and it would be fixed in a day or two.
Yeah.
And I like to think that we were of service to the people who ask us to be of service for them. And that's what I take pride in.
All right, every year we do your Christmas message. You want to give people your Christmas message?
Oh, it's just over already?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We have so much to be thankful for in this county, in this state, and the fact that we were, most of us, born just, I like to think of the guy who was born on third base and took his whole lifetime patting himself off on the back for hitting a triple.
Right.
But we're so fortunate to be Americans. And we have our problems, we have our disagreements, and certainly we have a lot of this going on right now. But we're just so fortunate. A good friend of mine is on a worldwide commission, and they meet by Zoom every 2 months. And the guy from Rwanda only has electricity provided 2 hours a day. So they have to adjust their meeting time to within that time frame. Look at the things that we have, we just take for granted. Your phone has all that information. Anyway, a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful to be a Wycomico Countyan and a Marylander, and I'm thankful for all of you who watch PAC 14. This is a wonderful, wonderful service to the community, and happy holidays to everyone. Right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. we'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.